Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Ambassador Henry. And I would like to extend thanks to you and the government of Antigua and Barbuda for having me here, along with Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris. The forum that we are here today involved in, CARICOM, Overcoming Challenges, Pathway to Development, is a critical discussion relating to regional integration. The actual session that we are now under the role of the Caribbean Court of Justice within the context of the revised CARICOM Treaty, the Treaty of Chaguaramas. I think that at the onset, we need to establish the CCJ. I think Mr. Justice Olson Nelson set out very clearly the basis on which the CCJ operates. But I would like, in my own way, to repeat very simply that there are two Hello? Hello? Yeah, thank you very much. I think the CCJ is based on two jurisdictions, the original jurisdiction and an appellate jurisdiction. And while our discussion looks at the role of the CCJ in the context of the Treaty of Chaguaramas, of the CSME, which basically sets up the CCJ in its original jurisdiction, I should say a brief word about the appellate jurisdiction. Currently, all but 4 members of CARICOM, English-speaking, have the Privy Council in London as its final court. So that if anyone has a matter before the High Court, especially in the OECS, we can appeal to the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, and as our final court, the matters have to go to London. This also happens in Jamaica, Trinidad. And we would like, ultimately, to establish a Caribbean court that has the CCJ as its final appellate court. It is something that is surprising, and I suspect to some confusing, because every one of our countries have signed up to the CCJ. They've all paid fully to be a part of the CCJ, and we do not use it as our appellate court, final appellate court. We in St. Kitts and Nevis will be engaging shortly in a debate to bring to fruition a decision on the question of having the CCJ as its final court, appellate court. But when it comes to its original jurisdiction, we are already a part of that court, as is Antigua and Barbuda and all other courts. And this is the basis on which we would want to have an arbiter, an interpreter of the issues that may emerge between individual nations, territories within our region, and as Justice Nelson has pointed out, there is mechanism for individuals in the region to also approach a court when they have disputes against other countries other than where they live. I think that I want to touch on the case Shanik Mairi, a Jamaican national who entered Barbados and felt that her rights had been violated. And she approached the CCJ. And her claims were vindicated when the CCJ declared that her rights had been violated. And it's an important judgment as it relates to the CSME, because one of the major issues in our CARICOM region is the question of migration. All of us are affected by the movement of peoples within our region. We have Dominicans coming to Antigua, Guyanese coming to St. Kitts, Jamaicans. There's a flow of Caribbean people throughout the islands. It's within us, and on us, and it's part of who we are. For over 100 years, Caribbean peoples have been moving from one island to another in search of work and better opportunities for themselves and their families. And in some cases, there are individuals in some islands who feel affronted by it. But it's very clear. We have a court that has interpreted the Treaty of Chaguaramas that leads to the bare fact that there will be free movement of peoples within the region. And the role of the CCJ in being able to interpret, to enforce the applicability of our regional integration movement is very, very important in the whole process of regional integration. I was very intrigued by the discussion of Professor Persaud earlier when he indicated, he posited the view that we should look forward to the future, that we needed to have a vision of what we would like our region to be 15, 20, 50 years hence. And to be able to arrive at such a place, we need to have institutions that we can rely on, that we can trust. And it's incumbent on all of us in this region to realize that we must come to believe in and trust in the Caribbean Court of Justice. We need to repatriate fully the whole question of our independence. We should no longer be in a position to want to rely on a former colonial master to have the final say in how we live, being dictated to by people many miles away who do not understand our culture, who do not live among us. We have to have confidence in our people, and so the role of the CCJ in the context of the revised CARICOM Treaty is one in which we must place our faith and encourage through political discourse, through encouraging our leaders to do what it would be to make such a vision, as the professor has said, a reality. Finally, I would like just to say that it's not just in the question of free movement, but there are other areas as well that the treaty, the CARICOM treaty, needs to be interpreted. Questions of the movement of capital and various other services. I think at one point there was the question of new areas that may not have been interpreted, included in the original treaty, that now may be needed to be brought under the umbrella of the treaty, such as data. Again, this is one of the major points that were raised where, as we move forward, where there's need for technological spread throughout our various countries, to have a paradigm shift in the way in which we deliver services to our people, that there needs to be underpinning of the role of the Caribbean Court of Justice in terms of movement of data and the very use of the issue of broadband and other technological ICTs and so forth. And so therefore, I'd like just to, like my friend QT Benjamin, to promote the whole concept that it's time for us in the region to give our full support to the Caribbean Court of Justice and move to have it installed not just as the final court, our court of original jurisdiction, but the final appeal court for all our peoples in the Caribbean community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Vincent Byron, Attorney General of St. Kitts.